Welcome back! Nature photography is one of my favorite photography genres, but let's be honest, it can be also super challenging. So in this video I'm going to share a couple of tips and tricks that will make nature photography so much easier for you. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for a couple of years, these tips and tricks will save you time and help you to take better photos faster. And here's tip number 1. Let's get this straight, your camera doesn't matter as much as you think. Sure, having the right lens or a decent camera is also super important, but the biggest factor in how your photo turns out is light. Light is everything in photography, and in nature photography the quality of light can make or break your entire shot. And the easiest way to improve your photos instantly is avoid harsh light when the sun is directly overhead. It creates deep shadows, blown highlights and images that are hard to fix later on in the post-production. If you're shooting on an overcast day, that's great for detail photography. So flowers, insects, leaves, the clouds actually act as a giant softbox diffusing the light perfectly. So instead of always chasing better gear, chase better light. That one mindset shift alone will transform your photography. But now let's move on. Most people just go out there into the nature and they just look around. But for photographers it's super important to learn to see. And yes, there's a difference. Because looking is passive and seeing is intentional. When you're in a forest, don't just scan for obvious subjects. Actually slow down, look for patterns, textures, shapes, colors or even movement. So actually train your eye to spot these specific elements. These details are everywhere, but most people miss them because they're just rushing to get the hero shot. So instead be patient, be present and wait for the light to shift, for the wind to stop, for the subject to reveal itself. So yeah, at the end of the day I can highly recommend to use every photography session to slow down and to capture these specific shots instead. And exactly that's a perfect opportunity to talk about the next tip. Nature photography isn't just about pointing your camera and hoping for the best. It's about understanding your subject. So for example, if you're shooting wildlife, learn the animal's behavior. That kind of knowledge helps you to predict their movement, and it means you will be in the right place at the right time instead of relying on luck. Or if you want to take photos of plants, learn how you can set up your shot to capture all the details. Because yeah, nature follows patterns, and once you start to understand those patterns, you will be able to plan your shoots more efficiently, and you will start to capture moments that most people will miss. And here's one tip that changed the game for me. Carry less gear. I mean, I know it's tempting to bring every lens, every filter, the tripod, the drone, the whole kit, but when you're out there, that extra weight becomes a burden fast, and eventually it limits how far you will go or how long you will stay out there. Instead, I can highly recommend to simplify your setup, choose 1 or 2 lenses for your specific needs, and build your shoot around those. Not only does it make your bag lighter, but it also forces you to think more creatively with what you have. And of course, you will spend less time switching gear and more time actually observing and shooting. Next up, let's talk about composition, because yeah, too many nature photos fall flat not because of lighting or the subject, but because of the composition. And here are a few simple tips that make composition way easier. First, use the rule of thirds. For example, place a subject off center on one of the thirds for a more dynamic image. Second, use natural lines like trails, rivers, branches to lead the viewer's eye into the photo. On top, you can also use trees, rocks or other elements to naturally frame your subject. So for example, don't just focus on the distant mountains, include rocks, plants or textures in the foreground to add depth. But of course, you can also use negative space to improve your photos. Give your subject room to breathe. Not every frame needs to be full. And finally, always ask yourself this before you start to take photos. What am I trying to show? Because once you know your answer, make every element in the frame support that. At the end of the day, that one question can easily improve your results. But now let's move on. And of course, nature doesn't operate on your schedule. You might wait 20 minutes for the light to hit just right. You might sit for an hour hoping a bird lands on that branch. And this is where most people give up. But the best shots, they rarely happen in a rush. And yes, I've actually missed a couple of shots by being in a hurry. And I've nailed shots by just staying still and letting nature come to me. So basically, nature photography teaches you to be patient, and nature rewards those who are. Another tip that we need to talk about is all about weather. Most people pack their camera away when the weather looks bad. But here's the thing, bad weather often creates the most dramatic and atmospheric shots. For example, rain adds reflections and texture, fog creates mystery and depth, stormy skies add drama and mood. As long as your gear is weather sealed or protected, don't fear the elements. Instead, actually use them to capture specific photos that stand out. And yes, sometimes the most inconvenient weather gives you the most unforgettable photos. The next tip that we need to talk about is that it is okay to not capture that special photo. Sometimes the light doesn't show up, sometimes the animal doesn't appear, and sometimes you just can't make the composition work. And yes, that's okay. Nature photography is not just about the outcome. Some days you will walk away with nothing, and the other days you will get a shot that makes it all worth it. So don't just force it, enjoy the process. And next up, let's talk about focus. And if you're into detail photography, manual focus is your best friend. Sure, the autofocus is amazing, but yeah, the autofocus can struggle with small subjects, especially if there's wind or movement. In certain situations it can be super tricky to get the shot, so switching to manual focus and using your LCD screen to zoom in can give you far more control and more precision. At the end of the day, detail photography is about control, and manual focus makes that way easier every time. So all in all, nature photography doesn't have to be complicated. If you just get started, it doesn't require thousands of dollars in gear, and it doesn't demand specific locations or the perfect conditions. And yes, at the end of the day, presence, patience and the willingness to see the world a little bit differently is the most important baseline to capture stunning shots. So, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.